Hello, welcome back to this tutorial number 10 of our Android to the car game with Libgdx and Java. So in the previous video, uh, we are using renderer to debug our player while we are in development process. So let me just run to see that everything is the same. So we have a loading screen, we have a button, and whenever we click play button, so we can see that our player is so we have the circle that represent our player. So and it is position, so we position it. So when we position our player, so we position it in the middle of our screen, and we have one world units. So we have 0 from the center and 1, so we have it in the middle, so starting from the middle, so we are drawing. So world width will be our world width will be 6. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, so 3 is in the between, so we have, and then we draw a circle, so we can see that our circle was there. So now what we will be within this tutorial will be we want to have movement for our player, so we need to apply a logic first for our player, so we can move either from left to right. So this is what we are going to achieve in this video. So as you can see, whenever I press any keys in my keyboard, the player does not move since it doesn't have any logic. So uh, okay, so let us now add some logic to our player. So I'll just go to your player, so and we have game object base, so but we don't have a logic for our player, so let us add. So instead of writing again, I have already the complete project, so I don't want to rewrite it again. I will just go to my backup file, so I'll just grab some codes. So you can see that I put it here, so the logic, so logic for our player, we just copy the logic for our player. So we have a method, something like to move our player, so we have update player mode, so you can just copy, these 2 lines of code, so I just copy. So okay, so I just put it to our game screen, so since this is where all of our game logic or the actual gameplay, so I will just put it here. And we don't have an X speed, so we can just, so we don't have an X speed, so I will just go here. So X speed, yes, okay, so just copy our X speed and paste it here, so I don't have to rewrite it again. just fix the other. So we have need to input some packages, and we don't have an xmax speed. So we don't have xmax speed, but we need to find it here. Or is xmax speed? So we have xmax speed. Just copy and paste. So I do this because I want to save time of recording, so that is why. Since we don't have particles, I will just comment this or remove it, but I would like to comment it since we are not using particle right now. Now this is just some import, so let us just comment this particles because we are not using particles. Now let us try to test our game so we can see if our flare will move. Okay, so let's try to play, and as you can see, okay, so it will not move because we don't have a controller that will handle our events. We need to call our method update flare move, so we forget to call it inside our renderer, so we need to call it right here below. We need to call update flare move. Okay, so now let's try to play again, and as you can see, our player is moving from left to right, and if we zoom out, it does not go beyond our game world. So we can see the reason, because when we create a method lock player to leave world, we are clamping the value of our x. So if we return the value, so this will return our x field, so we declare it by 0. But when we initialize our flare, so we have our flare, and so when we initialize our flare, we position it with the defined value right here, and when we get x, it will return the current value, so for our flare position we have a value, so our value will be the current position of our flare. The minimum will be the width of our flare, so we get the width of our flare, so this will return the width of our flare. It is 1.0. Then we subtract it, so flare.getWidth will be the minimum value. The maximum will be our world width. Then we subtract it to the width of our flare. So if we try to check our flare, so we have 1 world units. So we have 1 world units. Our flare will be 1 world units. So when we set width and height, we assign a value 1, but when we but when we set size, so we are passing 1 for width and height. So in our game screen, so I will go to my game screen, so this is the maximum value, so we have a maximum value, so, and that is how you will block flare to from leaving the game worlds. But let me just I will just Let me just delete some code so you will see. For example, we will not subtract, we just remove, and we just remove, and let us try to run and see what will happen. We will not subtract. So okay, so we can see that our layer is not so our player is not go with the edge of our screen. So you can see that our player was here. So you can see that if we run it again, so the value should be, to get X will return the current value of our player, so where we position our player, but the minimum that our player can move will be, the minimum value will be the width of our player, which is 1. If we will not subtract it, then we can see that our player will just be right here, and it will not go to the edge of the left, because 1 world unit is 1 square, so we can see that it is 1 world unit. And if our player, when we get the width of our player, that will be a 1 world unit, so it can be here. If we will not subtract, then that is what you can see, that it will not go to the edge of this screen. So just be sure to subtract. We are subtracting it by the size, so the minimum value will be the width, but when we subtract it by 1, so it should be 0. So it means that it will be 0. So that is why we can see whenever we run, so you can see that we can go to the edge of our screen. So you can see that we can move left and right. So that is what we are doing for this tutorial. So I hope you enjoy this video, and if you like, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you have questions or doubts about this tutorial, you can just leave a comment.